Good evening from Los Angeles. I'm Tavis Smiley. Tonight, first a conversation with Steve Cohen, the Democratic congressman from Tennessee, will give us an update on the articles of impeachment he plans to file against President Trump following his comments about Charlottesville. Then we'll speak with actress Sonequa Martin Green about her starring role in Star Trek Discovery. We're glad you've joined us. All of that in just a moment. President Donald Trump's failure to condemn the white supremacists and neo-Nazis in Charlottesville led Memphis Congressman Stephen Cohen to introduce articles of impeachment against the president. He joins us now for an update on what could be a historic piece of legislation. Congressman, an honor, sir, to have you back on this program.
Well, it's an honor to be on it. Thank you.
Let me start by saying something to you that you well know, which is that articles of impeachment is serious business. I don't know that there's anything more serious when it comes to the presidency, and you must have thought a lot about that before you introduced or even started to talk about this legislation.
Well, I'm a student of history,
yeah,
and I know about Andrew Johnson, and of course all of us watched Bill Clinton and that bizarre effort by the Republicans to get him for lying about an affair. And but people of my age, we lived through Watergate too, and so it's a serious thing. But when you have a president who violates his oath of office to take care that the laws are administered properly and that he's not abusing his office, and he does it, you have to be cautious in coming up with the right language, and you want to do the right thing. But I can't, after Charlottesville and seeing the, and this is, I don't think going to be part of our impeachment article, because while it was disdainful and despicable and disheartening to see his response and to equivocate on Nazis and Klansmen with protesters, that's what drove me over the line. I just thought, this man is not looking at for me or my constituents. I'm Jewish, my constituents are predominantly African American, and they were the enemies of both of us. And when the enemies of the Nazis, they're not real wild about blacks either, and the enemies of the Klan aren't real wild about Jews. So we're in the same boat when it comes to hate.
What has he done then? Give me some sense of what you think is impeachable.
Well, the first thing would be obstruction of justice and the firing of James Comey. James Comey was an FBI director doing a good job. Trump claimed he fired him because of what he did with Hillary Clinton in the campaign. What he did with Hillary Clinton in the campaign was wrong. I condemned it. I thought he should maybe resign, and I think it interfered with the result of the election. But I think James Comey did it out of a sense of rectitude, and I think he has a high degree of rectitude, and he's a brilliant man, and he's well respected. He then later admitted on to Lester Holt that he fired him because he thought the guy was interfering with him in Russia, and he couldn't take it anymore. So that's part of it, and I think that the facts will be produced by Bob Mueller, but I think that was obstruction of justice. And then you get the emoluments clause, where there have been civil suits brought for him getting money without going to Congress to ask from foreign governments. He's got Trump Tower, he's got Trump World Tower, he's got the Trump Hotel, and he's got Kuwaitis and Saudis and Chinese and Turks, and he's almost like a little bit like Blazing Saddles and getting all the bad actors together at the same time and getting them to come into his hotels and business establishments and pay him money. And you're not supposed to do that without the permission of Congress. There's a emoluments clause on domestic issues too. You're not supposed to get more money than you get as salary from as your job. And he's getting money at Mar-a-Lago and at these different Trump golf courses and every chance he can. So that's another. And then what he's done to question the rule of law and his comments and actions about the judiciary, so-called judges and the judge, which shows a pattern dealing with the Hispanic judge who couldn't treat him right on this case that should have been dismissed on summary judgment that he settled for $25 million.
There are going to be Democrats who shy away from this. Some of them already have, because they think even Nancy Pelosi hasn't wrapped herself around this as yet, in part because they think strategically it's a bad decision, that it might backfire on you all, the Democratic Party that is, come November of next year, certainly come the 2020 elections, that this might backfire. All it's going to do is serve to anger his base, his supporters.
I understand that, and I appreciate it. I have the highest regard for Nancy Pelosi. She's a great woman, a great person. And I think when Mueller has his report, whenever it is, there'll be more facts out there. And I think even some of the Trump people will say, hey, I'm not for this. You know, the connections with Russia are too much. But at the same time, I think, how can I be angry at Republicans for not coming on board and saying they're for impeachment when they've got a primary base that's pro-Trump, and it'd be difficult for them to do it if I can't do it with a district that's for impeachment. So it was a combination of things with me. When I called Nancy, I left her a message. Nancy, I know, and I'd held off. I'd done something called a new concept, which I kind of created with 31 others, an article, a resolution of no confidence as kind of impeachment light. But I called Nancy and I said, Nancy, I just can't do it anymore. When he couldn't condemn the neo-Nazis and the Klansmen, I said, I can't do it. I've got to file my articles. And so she kind of understood that. And it may be a Sonny Corleone move, and maybe I shouldn't go out to the subway gate, but I did it, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to have some fellows with me, and we're going to show a lot of Democrats that there's somebody out there that thinks like they do, and there's some Democrats out there that realize that our Constitution, our democracy is at risk, and it needs to be addressed. And it might give Republicans a little more backbone down the line to come out and support it as well. They have to support it for it to pass. And I'm hoping that this gives them some backbone.
There are safety concerns that you or your staff have for you when you're pushing something that could be seen as this divisive and clearly what is a troubling moment given what we saw in Charlottesville.
My staff has had that concern. I've seen some responses that have suggested that there's a bullet with my name on it, that I should be careful when I go out. Roger Stone even said those people who are a big Trump supporter, those people who advance impeachment do so at the peril of their own lives. I've thought about it, and we had police protection at one point. We probably will have it again at certain times. A lot of these people that are big Trump people are big on the Second Amendment, you know, and Trump didn't take any concerns from the campaign, and he said maybe some of those Second Amendment people helped me with Hillary. I mean, he's not one to hold back unlawful conduct for somebody who claims he's for law and order. He's for his law and his order.
What's your sense of when you will get to the point of introducing these articles of impeachment? Probably
very soon. We go back in session next Monday. It was a suggestion by one of my colleagues that we wait until he does something really, really boneheaded and stupid again, and that could happen any minute. So we're kind of waiting for Donald to be Donald. While he's going down to Hurricane Harvey and Hurricane Irma, it wasn't necessarily the right time. It was a little bit of a kumbaya moment, not much. And then he met with Chuck and Nancy, and they kind of had a deal on the debt ceiling and the 3-month extension. It looked like, but leopards don't change their spots, and I think it was Maya Angelou who said something about when you know what a person...
When people show you who they are, believe them.
They believe them. And there was a tweet I saw the other day, and it had that, and it said DACA, and you know, he's shown who he is. He's the 7 deadly sins incarnate. I mean, if you look at him, pride, anger, gluttony, greed, lust, envy, sloth. He's all of them.
There used to be moderate Republicans, and those persons are non-existent for the most part these days. Everybody seems to be on one side or the other, and at the pollers. So where and how did you get the support, and do you think that the evidence will be strong enough to convince even Republicans that something has to be done?
Mueller's evidence will be what does that. I have to admit, my resolution will not be what gets them on the train.
Right.
It's going to have to be some strong evidence, whether it's the smoking gun that Mueller brings forth. I think it can happen. The sad thing is there are 4 committees in Congress that have jurisdiction: House and Senate Judiciary and House and Senate Intel. All but House Judiciary, which is the committee that would bring impeachment charges, are doing work on this case, on this issue. And Russia. Our chairman has said, oh, well, these other 3 committees are doing it, and the FBI is doing it, and Mueller's doing it, so we're not doing anything. Well, I think we're being derelict in our responsibility as a Judiciary Committee to not look into the firing of the FBI director, obstructions of justice, and other things. And we've had resolutions of inquiry that have been presented in our committee The Republicans have hijacked them and turned them into resolutions to go to the General Sessions to ask about Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation and all kind of other things. I mean, they're more interested in a person who's a private citizen who doesn't have any influence over foreign affairs or domestic affairs than they are the President of the United States of America. Yeah. I mean, Hillary Clinton's their Jones. They got to somehow get off of it.
Yeah. I would assume that a congressman, even his district is overwhelmingly black, which one assumes is overwhelmingly black, which one assumes doesn't like Donald Trump. I would assume that you would still, though, want to check in with your own district to see whether or not they want to be the district that is represented by the guy who introduces impeachment articles. How did you have that conversation, and did you have that conversation?
In town hall meetings, we've had 2 town halls. One, about 700 people came out to East High School, another at the College of Art, and we packed the college. And then through social media, I'm real active on Twitter and Facebook. My district wants him impeached, and my district is really proud of the work that I'm doing. And when I go to the Memphis UCLA game, which we call the Memphis game, people are just thrilled. They say, you know, had one guy, I do a 360 and walk around the stadium at halftime. One guy went, "I'm not going to vote for you." Walked on. So many other people came up. Keep doing what you're doing. We need you to do what you're doing. We're proud of you. Get him. Get him. It's strong in our district. It's strong among Democrats.
Do you know? Do you have any? Do you have any sense right now of what kind of support you're going to have? How deep is your support going to run inside your own party when you introduce these articles?
I'll admit that if I can get to double digits, I'll be pleased. I know for a fact that Luis Gutierrez and Gwen Moore are on board. Al Green's on board. There's a few other folks that have said they're definitely going to be on board. Some of them are 95%. I think they'll be there. I'm trying to work mostly on Judiciary Committee and get some of those folks. I know there'll be some brushback. I don't think John Conyers is in favor of it, and he's like my political father, which makes it difficult. And John Lewis isn't there because John Lewis didn't even recognize him as being president. John Lewis is strong. So if we can get to 10, it'll be great, but we don't want it just to be me. And we know we've got at least 3 or 4 others for sure, and we're probably going to have 7 or 8, maybe 10.
We shall see. Memphis's Steve Cohen. Congressman, good to have you on this program. Thanks for your time.
Tavis, always good to be with you.
For more of my conversation with Congressman Cohen, go to our website at pbs.org/Tavis.